show, Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed. Good morning.
Thank you very
Welcome
much.
to the program this morning.
Yes.
Talking about this presidential directive, it's not just a rain on the parade of businessmen and women who deal in this importation business, but talking about its effect on milk, on rice, everyday food stuff that we depend on. What's the implication, really?
I think, I don't know where the president got his data from, where I attain food security. And again, the president is giving his directive on an order to the CBN. And I think those are 2 points people are looking at. And we as economy, we didn't see it as a good signal to the international committee. You don't give directive to the CBN. The CBN is an autonomous body. So you need to work with them. You need to get data from them. The CBN is supposed to come up with those recommendations,
present them to the
presidency, and the presidency present it to the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Agriculture. But now it's coming as a presidential directive.
Keep going, and then from the Ministry of Finance, it's interpolated into a law or amendment, and then we know the legislative.
It doesn't even have to come in a law. It could be administrative order, because the CBN Act is already there, and the CBN Act makes us to believe that the CBN is autonomous. They have a right to take decisions. The CBN is already dabbling into a lot of things that people think were meant for private banking: direct intervention in the textile industry, direct intervention in the agricultural sector, direct intervention even in the automobile sector until recently. So people are saying, look, that's not the work of the CBN. The CBN is supposed to give steady monetary policy so that the commercial banks will be able to loan to the real sector. So the CBN is beginning to take that, which we understand, because they are trying to make sure food sufficiency, they're trying to make sure farmers get loans at low interest rate. But now what we are saying is, if the farmer, what we always know is that the farmer have got loan in low interest rate in terms of the importation of rice. But now the president is giving a full ban, full restriction in the importation of restriction of FOREX to importation of food products. So it is a full ban, and it doesn't look good for the economy at this time.
Why so?
Because we've not attained that level in food sufficiency, food security, especially when we talk about, it's not just enough to have cassava, it's not just enough to have gari. I mean, we need to look at, it's not just enough to have cassava. The value chain, where the food processing plant to process all these raw materials into food for people. Where are those cocoa? Where is it to get to the mix? So there's a lot of things that we know that we're already dealing with infrastructural defects already. So we have the power challenge that does not make people come up with this food processing plant. So the presidential order is more or less like every other order. I think they should think about it again. We are not saying that they shouldn't. We should be looking at it. If they've bound giving of FOREX to those that those that import rice into the country. That is that's the first step. So you begin to empower other sectors. But for now, I don't think it's the right policy statement.
Mukhtar Mohammed, let's chew on all you said. Thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you.
Joining me now is the CEO of Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed. It's good to have you join me right now, Mukhtar.
Thank you. Good morning.
When the president said that Nigeria is now has food, underline the word food, food security, I wonder what you make out of that, because a lot of Nigerians came out, who are agriculturists, came out to say, Mr. President, I don't think that is the fact on ground. I wonder what you see in that regard.
I think the president got it all wrong. I don't know how we attain to full food security. Even in the rice plan that we know that the government has even really put a lot of resources in there, we've not seen that full realization in that space. And so for the government, for the president to say we've come into full food security, I think he was just saying it maybe out of the, he was meeting some delegations, and maybe the info of that moment. For me, I don't think
all right,
we've done that.
Whether that is true or not true, but let's put that aside now and look at even agriculture. But to a great extent, everyone will believe that there's some level of interest from the government in, trying to beef up or trying to stop or show up what agriculture is having right now. When it comes to that, we know that even our green, white, green as our colors was gotten from, it was because of agriculture as being our foundation. What do you see changing when it comes to investment in agriculture so far?
I think the only change we see there is that the CBN is directly involved.
Okay.
The normal commercial banks, the normal agricultural banks are not there, so the CBN is taking that responsibility.
Is that a strategy?
I don't think it's the right strategy, because I don't know how long they could sustain it, because we've seen direct borrowing from the CBN to most of these farmers. It gives room for a lot of details that are not very clear. And who are these farmers? Is it the peasant farmer or the large-scale farmers?
Or the portfolio farmers?
Or the portfolio farmers. We have a lot of them in politicians.
What should it really be when it comes to banks being involved, when it comes to private sector being involved? What's the standard? What is it supposed to be?
I think it's supposed to be you write your proposal, the banks comes to look at it, but you know the cost of getting loan in Nigeria is very high, which I know that's why the CBN is doing that. But you know, the CBN used to intervene through the banking sector, especially the major commercial lenders, and give them money and said, okay, you can give to agricultural sector at so amount with very strenuous conditions. But most of this loan will just leave fallow there, because most of these farmers are not able to access it. And most things are responsible for this. One of them is because of the land tenure system. Okay. The land tenure system is the farmer cannot use his land as a means of collateral to get loan. So there's still a lot of work to be done in that agricultural space to create that enabling environment for full food security. All right. In terms of
so we're still far from attaining the full food security, as the president said. Thank you very much, Mukhtar Mohammed, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get fresh perspective to this presidential directive now. The CEO of Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed is here. You're welcome.
Thank you, Kelly.
M-Square, as I like to call to address you. It's good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you.
Talking about this issue of independence of institutions, government agencies that many have used to analyze this directive. What would you say about the CBN in this case, the NBS, for example? After all, for the CBN, for example, he can't spend any money without the presidency's approval, so to speak. So let's balance these concerns.
We're talking about policies. We are not talking about approval. When it comes to policy that has to deal with the economy, you need to come from the CBN, especially when it comes to monetary policy. That's why you see, if you remember, the last Minister of Finance, then Kemi Adeosun, was trying to tell that the CBN should cut down rates at that time, and the CBN government made her to understand that, look, it's not in your place. It's the monetary committee is actually a private sector. They have their committee, they meet with the CEOs of the bank, so they are independent in the point. They look at the economy and they take economic decision, not political decision. Okay. Why did we come about this autonomy of the CBN? It was the then President Olusegun Obasanjo that decided that the CBN need to be autonomous so that they can be able to come up with right policy in spite of the economic consequences of those policies. That's why we came to the CBN Act, looking at the autonomous of the CBN. But then it will still go through the presidency. But okay, we're talking about giving an order. You don't give an order.
Like
it could be like, okay, you propose to CBN and tell them that, look, based on this, and based on this, we are talking about data, informations.
Okay.
That will be able to justify what you're saying you're trying to do.
Okay. And then what have we done, or what will happen with this directive, talking about the concerns of smuggling? Sea rice, for example, turkey, poultry, food now that still will see littering many shops.
I think it's not going to do our economy any good, because I tell you, CBN is already trying to tackle inflation, trying to tackle a lot of issues. But when you start bringing in this now, some of this product, remember now, it's not saying that this product will be banned fully. What we're saying that they will not have access to forex, and
but I can get forex from other options.
So what happens that it makes those commodity more expensive now for the ordinary Nigerian.
But won't it also help the system somewhat if at least the market is still vibrant? If CBN will not issue forex, but then I can go to the malam on the street to do that. Does it have any adverse effects or any good effect that may, there's
no good effect. The only effect you have is going to be an adverse effect, whereby the cost of all this product will go up. If I'm no more importing, I need to sort for my own forex, my own self. Then I have to put my price at my own cost to also to tally with how much I've spent. So what's happening? But you need to look at it this way: that what is the differential in terms of forex to these people, and what's the differential in terms of getting it in the other exchange system. But for me, I think what will happen is that we're going to see spike in terms of price. Inflation will go up because price of some of these goods will come up. Because you are talking about you're talking full food security. It's practically unheard of in any country whereby you attain full food security. Even in the United States, as big as they are, they have not attained full food security. What you do, you pay taxes on some of these things to encourage your locals for these things to be produced locally because it's more cheaper.
Mukhtar, you've just opened up another very intense discussion talking about the U.S.-China trade war, but then we've run out of time. Thank you so much for your analysis, Mukhtar Mohammed.
Thank you, Demi.